What up, my guys? Welcome to another show, man. It's NBA Talk with Jay Money and the Shark. Shark over there, heavy on the violin, my guys, man. We're trying to get some cash today. A lot to discuss, a ton of games here, Shark. What's up with you, my guy? Everything cool with you?
Absolutely. Taking a breath. Friday morning here on the East Coast, October 28th, 2022. A sports day for sports fans and sports bettors alike. You got all four leagues going today. You got so much going on. Huge NBA card. Jay Money, let's get in there and let's dominate.
Yeah, let's get straight into it, my guys. First game up, man. We're going over here back to the streets of Detroit here, Char, where the Pistons are laying 6.5 points versus the Hawks here. Obviously, this is the second game of a little home and home situation. I can tell you this, man. I watched that first game. Pistons gave them everything they could handle. Hawks came in there very lackluster. I believe Trae Young still went for 33 points, but only 1 for 7 from the three Shark. Like I say, from him and Murray, just the vibe that I was getting, it was one of those games where they just didn't care about. They came out and barely won it. I think the Pistons really had a chance to win that game. They're in desperate need of a win as well, with 1-4 on the season. I'd lean the Pistons to keep this game close, if not win this game outright. First game of a back-to-back. Hawks do have the Bucks. We talked about this the other day. This is a huge look-ahead spot for the Hawks here to a much bigger game tomorrow. I'd be taking the Pistons plus the 6.5 here, Shark.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough game. Obviously, the last game I lost the wager by 2 points. And as you mentioned, the Hawks just did not bring competitive fire. And it was frustrating to watch. I mean, I wasn't watching every single possession. I don't sweat the game like that for my own mental health, thankfully. But I mean, I was following the box score and the game flow. And I was like, guys, can we just get some sort of separation here? And it just wasn't there. And of course, down the stretch, Bogdanovich, one of my guys on Twitter made the comment, he became prime for that. I mean, 4 threes, I believe, in the last 3 or 4 minutes, a 4-point play. I mean, you're not able to cover a tight NBA spread when you have a guy going off like that. It's just basically impossible. You come back here, the line does come down to a certain degree. It is leaning towards the Pistons. As you mentioned, this is a look ahead for Atlanta, 100% Milwaukee tomorrow night. You would want to take this on the Detroit side of the number. A little bit worried because the last one was an Atlanta number and they didn't cover. So theoretically, the books have lost a grip on this line functionality space. So there's a little bit of a confusion point there. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I'm not in this game, however.
Yeah, that's a good point there. Yeah, revenge spot as well. Then the Hawks 0-5 against the spread, last 5 in Detroit. Like I say, Bucks on deck. It's just a huge look-ahead spot. And the last thing I'll say with me watching that game, I didn't really have a huge bet. I think there was some key there that Shark said, because when I have a big play on a game, I can't watch it either. The refs will run me high. Every little play pisses me off. It's just better for my mental. Like, I may have taught Shark that. It's better for our mental, man, just not to watch this shit. But one thing I noticed, the Hawks were getting a lot of foul calls. Trae Young shot, I believe, 16 or 17 free throws. Bogdanovich really frustrated. He weren't getting in any foul calls. So I think the law of averages say if the Pistons get more foul calls here, I think they win this game straight up, my guy. I think the Hawks were getting a lot of ticky-tack fouls. Pistons weren't getting any foul calls on them, and Bogdanovich still was going off. So personally, I see the Pistons win this game. I'd be taking them plus the 6.5, my guys. Let's go over here to the streets of Orlando here. We got the Magic getting 2 points versus the Charlotte Hornets here. This line was opened up at 3 for the Hornets. It's down to 2 here. So maybe some money coming in on the 0-5 Magic here, Shark. What are we doing?
Well, on a suddenly not so casual free Friday, October 28th, 2022, the buy hat is engaged. The first time wearing this beautiful, beautiful print in the 22-23 campaign. And Jay said it, let's continue. You're finding just a great, great environment to buy an 0-5 straight up team. And you really have to go through these environments and look at yourself and say, why is this team 0-5? And how competitive are they against the spread? Go back to the opener, Wednesday, October 19th at Detroit. We've mentioned this before. Detroit, upstart and good ATS, a non-cover by a hook on the road, went into Atlanta. Atlanta's a second-round playoff team, pushed the spread, came home, key point here, in their only home game, did cover the spread as an underdog against Boston, 126-120, went to New York, got hammered, went to Cleveland, did not cover. So they come in here off a 2-game road losing streak, 2 non-covers on the road, and they catch a spot where Charlotte is just in a brutal spot tonight. Charlotte is on the front end of a back-to-back. So tomorrow night they have the Golden State Warriors in their home gym. They're coming off a cover in overtime against the Knicks. This is the third game of a road trip. They're 2-0 ATS on the road trip, dating back to the opening game of the road trip last Sunday at Atlanta, an outright win, 126-109. And you get a revenge game on a great number within the division. The last matchup in this particular one-off here was Charlotte 128-101 on a minus 14 at home. So when you're laying 14 at home and you win by margin, books have a grip there. They move it all the way down to 3. Dead zone spot, look ahead spot, revenge spot, 0-5. Magic get off the schneid tonight. I think they win this game outright. I'm at 3, 2.5, 2 is perfectly fine as well. 1 unit official.
Yeah, I can't talk you off here, my guys. This could be a spot where you could just take the money line here. Magic could definitely get this win here. We know the Hornets have been, I feel like they've been playing over their head, in my opinion. Obviously, without LaMelo Ball and Rozier, both of their point guards, they still have Hayward, guys like Oubre as well. Not a ton of, this is the game right here, matchup-wise. So the Magic don't have a guard. They don't really have a point guard, right? So the people are going to take the Hornets here. Cole Anthony's out. Jalen Suggs is out as well. I believe he's questionable, but he hadn't been. Jalen Suggs is going to be out for a little while, guys. So they were out all 3 of their point guards. Markelle Fultz as well. It's going to have to be Banchero and Terrence Ross running the show here, but they have a major size advantage here. Only one center on the Hornets over there. While they still can ball, they can still push the pace, might have a better offense here. The Magic do have the better defense. 5 guys over 6'10" or more here. They could really tower. What I would do here, you got to bring 3 guys in here. Banchero's going to have to be running the point guard. Obviously, I'm not sure how much I like that, but Magic in need of a win, man. You mentioned it. It's real simple here. I'm not taking the Hornets. They got the Warriors on deck tomorrow. It's really that fucking simple with me. Huge look ahead spot line coming down. Magic, the only way that I could look in there was Shark. Like the hat as well, my guy. Giving me 90s Penny Hardaway and Shaquille O'Neal vibes. Let's go over here to the streets of Toronto here. We got the Raptors getting +1 in the game 2 of the home and home series here, Shark. This line's been basically 1.5 for the Raptors, now 1.5 for the Sixers. What do you think? Can the Sixers get over the hump of this Raptors defense here?
I don't know. This Sixers team right now is just blowing my mind. I mean, the incompetence that they're showcasing to start the season here is really noteworthy. And of course, we talk about this all the time, but the first 5 games don't really matter when it comes down to this team's long-term goals going, forward into May and June. But regardless, this has been fairly pathetic stuff, noted by a terrible home effort against San Antonio, an outright loss last Saturday, 114-105. And most recently, really a game that they were, handled, I would say, by Toronto, 119-109. So you get the one-off revenge game, and bless you, Jay. Beautiful morning. And of course, we've talked about this all the time. When teams play back-to-back games against the same opponent in the same stadium, generally speaking, you would want to take the one-off revenge. It's hard for a team to beat down the same team twice back-to-back. It's in the playoff series, and that's why there's so much zigzag in playoff series. So the natural lean here is in Philly to get revenge. However, the line's not giving us anything. And as I suggested, going back to the cap in the previous game of this, the Toronto games against these Eastern playoff teams are always very, very close. So I was actually surprised that the previous one ended up at such a margin at 10. I thought that would be tighter. So I think the moral of that story is this is going to be tighter tonight. I think this one is going to hover right around it. I think it's a sharp line. But I think if you're betting this game, you're just asking for a gamble.
Yeah, it's a good point there. Only way I would look is the Sixers in this one, guy. I don't take the revenge spot every time, but I do think that the Raptors got hot from 3 in that one. There, in my opinion, these aren't absolute facts, but it's just my opinion, guys. I don't think that the Raptors are that great of a 3-point shooting team that they showed in the first game. Gary Trent Jr. got hot. They were sagging off of Siakam, basically daring him to shoot the ball, and he got hot as well. So, Glenn Rivers isn't the best of coaches, guys, but you got to come and look here and say, look, guys, we understand that we don't respect their shots, but you can't leave NBA players wide open. They're going to hit some threes, man. I always say that at the gym, at the rec center. I don't care who it is. You leave them wide open, they might be able to make the shot, man. So the Sixers they did put the Raptors out of the playoffs last year, so that's why you had the Raptors with so much fire in that first game. The Sixers team got even better than they were last year. You just worry about the coaching. The players got better. The coaching probably got a little worse, my guys. So with still lean Sixers here. Wouldn't be surprised if they lost, but if I had to play on the game, I'd definitely be taking the Sixers here to get some quick revenge here. They do have the Bulls tomorrow on deck, but no real look-ahead spot. I think they would like to turn up here in Toronto. Could see some three-point shooting regression from the Raptors in that one, my guys. Let's go over here to the streets of Boston here. We got the Celtics laying 6.5 versus the Cleveland Cavaliers here. Really great Eastern Conference matchup here, man. It could be two of the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference here, Shark. You got this line going up from 5.5 to 6.5 overnight. You like anything in this game?
I do, and the buy hat is engaged. I love this hat as well, and I love the mental makeup of this Cavaliers team as they turn an upward movement point with Donovan Mitchell. And a lot going on in this game. We're taking this game officially plus 6.5, 1 unit. Go back to last year. We do have line functionality developing. Early last year, Cleveland did win a home game -1 against Boston, a game that Cleveland was down significantly and came back in the fourth quarter, 29-15. Soon thereafter, in Cleveland again, off a loss at -1 Boston. Boston came up to -4 and did get them 98-92. I believe either Jay or myself had that game on that particular day last year due to the line functionality of this matchup. Then it came back home a little later in the year. It was stock, 4 road, home 7. Boston did get there by margin 111-101. So now you get the environment that we want to buy. When you win by 10 on a 7 in your home gym and you come back shorter, it was 5.5. Now it's 6.5. And you look at what's going on here. I think people might be overvaluing Boston off a loss. Boston early in the campaign here, their first few games, I think if we really go down this, there's a little bit more to it than just Boston being a demolition tour waiting to happen for 82 games. In the opener, we had the cap incorrectly. But again, Philadelphia has been lackluster. So I think that's not so much Boston being amazing, but Philadelphia just lacking continuity here. Then at Miami, Miami's also been very lackluster, which we've talked about numerous times. At Orlando, a non-cover against a team who is 0-5. And then a blowout loss to Chicago, which we had correctly in their last game. So now they come in here off an elongated break. They haven't played since Monday. Get a small little mini homestand. And you get Cleveland, where Cleveland has been performing very well. Cleveland lost in the opener at Toronto, 108-105, basically a push line there. Then went into Chicago and absolutely hammered them in a revenge game. This is a revenge game. It's a 2x revenge game. It's a line. It's a spot. Cleveland could win this game outright tonight. Official at plus 6.5, 1 unit.
Yeah, I couldn't talk you off, my guy. I like the hat. Obviously the Cavs as well. They're starting to get in the groove here. They do match up well down low as well here for the Celtics. This is the first game home off a little road trip. They did have 3 days off, not necessarily a buy on spot, if you will. Obviously, they're coming off a loss, but you do find yourself with Grant Williams suspended here. Obviously, they're still without Robert Williams as well. So, when you go up against the Cavs, you're going to need some size because obviously Mobley and Jared Allen just absolute dominate. Even Dean Wade is, I believe, like 6'9", 6'10" as well. So have some really good defenders coming off the bench. They probably have the better bench in this game as well, especially with not having Grant Williams. So he's kind of like their 4 off the bench. They're missing their starting 5. At some point, it's going to catch up with them. They're beating teams with offense here, but the Cavs, a lot more balanced offensively and defensively this year. But I always say this defense is unmatched, man. Some teams are just not used to them coming in here playing that sticky style type of defense. It's like the Raptors with the good offense down there. So LeVert, Mitchell, could see them going off here, but definitely they have the advantage down low, Shark, with the trees, and I believe they have the bench advantage here. Taking the Cavs plus the points is not a bad look here whatsoever. Let's go over here to the streets of Washington, D.C. here, where we have the Wizards laying 5 points up against the Indiana Pacers here, Shark. Total sitting at 229. I believe the Pacers have not won a game so far. This line is starting to come down a tad towards them. What do you think here? Is this an ugly Pacers spot or what?
Oh, I don't know. This game is terrible. The line here is on Washington. If you go back, obviously this season did open on Wednesday, October 19th, with a matchup between these two teams. Washington on the road was -1, which was a fairly neutral ground line. We suggested we had no idea what was going to go on in that game on that particular day. They did cover it, 114-107. So now you come back. This should be -4 for expected neutrality. It's at -5. And it is showcasing 1 point of strength to Washington. And I mentioned this the other day when I said I thought Washington would clean up Detroit at home. I think Washington could repeat what we saw last year in the early going, where they purely were just an ATS machine. And as I mentioned the other day as well, I think this team is going to sustain it going forward. Indiana is just a tough cap. As you mentioned, I believe winless. They might have one win. But regardless, I don't really have much on this game. I think the line is on Washington. I would be surprised if Washington didn't get there by 6 or higher tonight.
Who the fuck did they beat, man? They beat the Pistons by 9. Right. That's tough. Yeah, you can't be out there listening to the pace. Yeah, I think one interesting thing, guys, where obviously sometimes they did get Miles Turner back, so they could be huge. This is the second game back. Obviously, he was really rusty in the first game. They do have their center back. Now, I mean, obviously the Pacers, I know as far as the total, when he's out, the overs go crazy in that one. But I do want to let people know that they at least do get their starting center back. This is the first game of a back-to-back. They play the Nets tomorrow in Brooklyn for the first couple, a little home and home in Brooklyn. But team in need of a win. Washington as well. They lost their backup point guard. That could be something to note. So Pacers got back their starting 5. Wizards lost DeLon Wright coming off the bench. So be interested to see who's going to be their backup point guard now as well. So it's a tough game for me. I'm not looking to back that game, but I guess I could, in theory, make some points for the Pacers there, but I'm not betting that game. Let's go over here to the streets of Minnesota here, man. We got the Timberwolves laying 7.5 points versus the Lakers here. My guy Mo Harris in the chat saying he likes Lakers money line here. Obviously, the Lakers, I don't even know if they're in desperation mode. I don't even think they care, to be honest with you. These guys are millionaires. LeBron's a billionaire. Sometimes I don't know about you guys when watch teams. Sometimes LeBron acts like he doesn't care out there. They didn't have Westbrook last game, guys. Can't necessarily put it all on him. This team is bad as a whole as shooting shark, but they can play some defense. They are number 4 in the league at defense, even with them being terrible, dead last offensively, Shark.
Yeah, I think this particular game for me is just more or less autopiloting Minnesota to continue an upward movement point against the Lakers. They did cover the last couple games last year against the Lakers. And as you mentioned, the Lakers truly are showing no signs of turning the corner here. And we'll probably talk about this almost every day because I know the Lakers have a gigantic fan base. The media likes to talk about it. We like to talk about it as well. But the Family and Friends tour last year, I don't know what I would necessarily categorize this as this year. I said the Hollywood tour, maybe just the Disengaged tour. I don't know what it is, but it just looks hapless and it looks like it's going nowhere but south. Of course, coming off yet another non-cover at Denver in their previous game. I do think Minnesota turns up to beat the Lakers for whatever reason. Of course, last year, Patrick Beverley was on Minnesota. Now he's on the Lakers, which I think is the only point in this game. And it sounds ridiculous that essentially a defensive role player would play a part in the Lakers covering this game. Patrick Beverley, when he played for the Wolves, was the insurgent point in their shit talking. He's going to be in the Lakers locker room trying to get them to shit talk the Wolves and amped up. But again, we had suggested this kind of as a comedic point going back to, I believe, the first or second game of the season. And we said the problem here with Patrick Beverley being on the Lakers is that he doesn't have guys that are willing to listen to him. He needs to be on a team like the Wolves with younger guys that are going to listen to him. Guys that are willing to listen to him. Environment.
All right. I'm trying to retweet the show, man. I hear you. I said I'm trying to retweet the show, man. We got 660 people watching live, trying to get 1,000 in this motherfucker. But you made some good points, Shark. That's exactly how I'm looking at it. I'm not betting the game. Wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers did try to find something, right, versus Timberwolves team. Now, I think something key here. The Timberwolves beat these guys in the preseason. The Lakers were playing everybody. It was kind of like a dress rehearsal. The Timberwolves sat, I believe they sat Gobert in that game. They sat a few more players as well. So they went out there without 3 starters and still smashed the Lakers, my guys. So it's a tough game for me. It's not something I'll be betting. It's a game that I'll watch. It's going to be entertaining watching Patrick Beverley going up against his old guys. We're sure that he's going to want to win, but I don't see championship type of ball from AD. The guy's 29 years old. He looks like he's older than LeBron. I need to see something from AD. Like, let's go out here and ball. Let's go 30 points, AD. I'm not seeing it, man. These guys act like they don't care. It's very unprofessional, in my opinion. Obviously, guys have played basketball their whole year, their whole life, Shark, to get to this point. But I still feel like you still owe it to the people, man. You get paid millions of dollars. Look at that in itself and check your own quality and come out there and ball, man. These guys do not fucking care right now. I'm not betting them. I watched the game. People that's been the Lakers. Hey, good luck, my guys. The Wolves, Shark, aren't giving us bio an opportunity right now. They're not showing that they're in an offensive groove, even against the Spurs without 2 major players in Primo and Vassell. That game was still hovering around the number. The Wolves aren't in sync right now, my guys. They're obviously still working in Gobert. So tough game. not something that you should bet, Char. Let's go over here to the streets of Milwaukee here. We got the Bucks laying 5.5 up against the Knicks here, my guy.
Yeah. And the third buy hat, a hat that I love to wear as a fan, and tonight we're wearing it as bettors, is engaged. New York Knicks plus 6.5, 1 unit on the road. A lot going on here. We talked prior about Atlanta being in a trap spot with Milwaukee tomorrow. Well, guess what? Milwaukee's in a trap spot with Atlanta tomorrow. And you get the Knicks coming in here in a triple revenge game on a great line figure. Go back to last year, the last 3 matchups. Milwaukee did hammer New York in New York. The Knicks were actually laying 3.5 points in that game, believe it or not. Early season, I believe, when books still had Knicks graded pretty highly coming off a playoff the previous year. Then it came back to Milwaukee. Milwaukee got a strong 6. It was a 9.5 gap. Milwaukee did hammer 112 to 97. Later on in Milwaukee again, -9. Milwaukee again, 123 to 108. So you get a triple revenge game, and you get the same environment that we're buying Cleveland here. Same gym, line shortening up. Milwaukee 123, 108 on a -9. Win by margin at 15, come down to 6.5. And again, I think this is just a dead zone spot for Milwaukee. Milwaukee is 3-0 ATS on the campaign. Not entirely sure how impressive that is. We keep talking about these Eastern Conference teams. We just don't know how good Brooklyn's going to be. And again, we don't know how good Philly's going to be. So we could look back and say, you know what? The fact they just beat Brooklyn by 11 points, it's not as impressive as people think. And, of course, a blowout versus Houston, also not impressive. Knicks come on the road here. Knicks functioning well in all environments. I think Jalen Brunson has really re-energized this group with a level of professionalism. Jay, of course, you know this guy's quality very well with the Magic in the past few seasons. And, of course, the Knicks did cover on the road at Memphis, went to overtime. I think this game's going to be tight tonight, but I think the Knicks plus 6.5, 100% the correct side of this game. 1 unit official plus 6.5.
Yeah, I couldn't talk you off. Sorry. For the people that's watching right now, would you still take this at 5.5, my guy?
Oh, is it 5.5 now? Yeah, I would. I think this game's going to be super tight. I think Knicks could win this game.
That's good. I mean, it's steam coming down on your side off a public side. I just wanted to ask for the people that's watching now. I like it as well. Couldn't talk you off. Again, nice hat, my God. The Shark is going 3-0 today, man. It's that simple. Let's go over here to the streets of San Antonio here, man. We got the Spurs getting 4.5 points versus the Chicago Bulls here. A lot going on in this one. The Bulls do have the Philly on deck tomorrow. You could argue it's a look ahead. Levine may not be playing in this game. I'm just here to bring you the info. He is. Obviously, he's not really playing back-to-backs right now. It's probably going to sit this one out. So if you do like the Bulls, maybe wait on this one. What do you think here, though? The Spurs, you think the Spurs can keep this one close, Shark? Do they even want to win this game?
I don't know. I would lean the Bulls here. And I do think, as you mentioned, the Bulls are in a sandwich spot. They get Philly tomorrow night. Kind of an interesting travel schedule, too. The Bulls opened with 5 straight games against the East. Now they play 1 game randomly in San Antonio, and then they play 6 more against the East. So I'm not entirely sure how much that's going to matter. You do get line functionality here. When you go back to last year, in the game that DeMar DeRozan was returning to San Antonio for the first time.
Shit.
It's late October. It's fall. I was just coughing myself in the air. It's beautiful, but I know I can definitely get that throat going. And we appreciate you guys in the chat. Dominant as always. Staying course here. Last year in the first game that Chicago played at San Antonio was actually laying 2 points with, of course, a much better roster and did win and cover 131 to 122 in what was DeMar DeRozan's return game to San Antonio. It came back to Chicago. Chicago -3 later in the year, 120 to 104. Chicago a cover, a game that Chicago was down significantly going into the fourth quarter, and came back and won the fourth quarter 37 to 20. So now you get a line functionality spot. That was a 5 gap. Again, should have been 3. It was strong. Now you go from 3 home, which should come down to pick 'em. It comes up to -4.5. And I think ultimately what you're looking at here is a Spurs team that did perform well on a road trip, coming back home where they only have 1 home ball game. And not coincidentally, it was as a short dog to an Eastern Conference team. It was Charlotte, and Charlotte absolutely hammered this team by margin. I think the lean here would be the Bulls. I want to look at it in a little more detail. I might end up going official with this afternoon because it really does connect with me to fade the Spurs coming home off a trip, again, with the functionality crossed with the Charlotte spot. So significant lean to Chicago, and that's it for this one.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Bull's the only way I could look here. DeMar obviously going back to San Antonio. I'm not sure if the Spurs want to win this game, man. I'm a firm believer that they might be one of the heads of the tankers. Obviously, they're going to win some games early season before they really realize themselves like, hey, maybe it's not good for us to win. If we're not going to make the playoffs, why not have one of the worst records in the league, my guys? But Levine is probably not going to play here. They got the 76 on deck tomorrow, but Spurs off their four-game road trip, first game back at the house. And then, like you said, they head back out on road. It's a dead zone type of spot. This is somewhat like another road game, if you will, as well. You try to come home real quick, take care of some stuff while you can before you head back out on road. I don't think the Spurs are trying to win right now. Vassell is out once again. Primo is out once again. I can't say for sure, but I don't necessarily think these guys have career-ending injuries, guys. Maybe a little banged up, but I really think they're choosing not to play them. One key play, the best player on the team, Vassell, and the best player off the bench, Primo, my guys. So I don't know, man. Two questionable injuries from a team that's probably tanking. Bulls, the only way I could look in this one, my guys. Let's go over here to the streets of Denver here. We got the Nuggets land 8 points versus the Utah Jazz. Somewhat of a revenge spot here off the first game of the season. You could argue that the Nuggets were looking ahead. Also, the Jazz came out balling, though, as well. People are just looking past them here. I think people know about them now as well. Some of their key players are injured in this game. KCP is questionable here as well, Shark, but they do get Michael Porter Jr. back. He probably just sat out last game getting ready for this one. I think the Nuggets try to show something here, try to prove something to the Jazz in this game, Shark.
Yeah, I would agree. And of course, you are starting to find revenge games within this season. I know yesterday we were talking about going back to last year. Of course, we don't go back to last year because we want to look at anthologies of past historical data. It's just the most recent stuff. So, of course, when you start getting games within this season, this is where we go. And you find the opener. And it was really an insulting loss for Denver. Of course, it was a look-ahead spot for Denver on that particular calendar point. But just a blowout, 123-102. And that really opened the gates for the Jazz team that we now know is far better than people thought, I think. And I mentioned this numerous times. This team is just very guard heavy and very dependent on their shooting percentage. But I mean, you get guys like Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, even Mike Conley. I said, 14, 15 year out of Ohio State, just professional guys. They're going to take this seriously. I would lean Denver too from the motivational standpoint and the line number holding weight towards them. I'm just a little worried about this Jazz team, as I've mentioned numerous times on this broadcast. And I do think if you go back to the previous game, we had said we thought Houston would cover as an underdog against the Jazz when the Jazz were laying 5.5, 6 points. I believe that got up to 7. The Jazz
got up to 8. That shit got up to 8.
Okay, that pushed. But the 7 we discussed on air, I mean, they covered a -7. And that was surprising to me. And I think that does speak to some sustained quality here. Again, Denver revenge should be motivated. I don't know how to read the Jazz in this one, though.
Yeah, the Rockets are ass on the road though. That's my only thing with that one. I feel like at the house, well, I mean that's where the Rockets beat them. Obviously, it was a terrible spot, but Rockets on the road, guys. Some I've noticed no go. Obviously, do not bet the Rockets on the road in almost any situation, my guys. But yeah, Jazz have won 4 out of the last 5 games. 4 out of the 5 games this year. They do somewhat of a front end of a back-to-back though, so maybe you get that element of maybe they try to conserve some energy. They do play the Memphis Grizzlies tomorrow at the house. So look, they head out on the road here for one game, then head back to the house. Obviously, it's a revenge spot. They probably won't have Colin Sexton in this game. He left the last game as well, didn't come back. He's questionable here today. He may not be going. They won't have Rudy Gay off the bench here. Walker Kessler as well, backup center. He's questionable with an illness. So KCP is questionable here for the Nuggets. He will mean big. He's one of their best defensive players and main three-point shooters as well. This Nuggets team does not play a ton of defense, guys. That's why I'm not laying the 8.5 with them tonight. I would still lean that way at the sharper books at Circa. This is going up to 9 here, so maybe some money coming in on the Nuggets here. I think they could smack them if they wanted to. Obviously, you got to come out and play defense, though, if you're the Nuggets, and you don't always get that type of game. So I'd actually lean Nuggets trifecta spot. I hadn't bet either one of them yet, guys. We just come on here to bring you guys the info. 803 people watching live. Hit the like button, subscribe, my guys. I'd still lean the Nuggets there. Last couple games up here, Sharp. We got the Suns land 7 points versus the New Orleans Pelicans here. It's really simple here for me, my guys. Nothing's guaranteed, but I am taking the points in this game. I do think the Pelicans win this one outright. A quote, obviously they kicked us out of the playoffs, so we're going to go out there and play Pelicans basketball. and we're going to beat them at their crib. Quote from my guy, Jose Alvarado. A lot of these guys are questionable. I think it's a little chess game. Everybody should be playing this game other than Ingram. Ingram did not make the trip, so he's not even with the team. I see Zion, Alvarado, all these guys. I believe McCollum's on the injury report. These guys are coming to fucking ball here tonight. I know that the Suns are really starting to show a groove. They're really balling out right now. I like what I'm seeing, but this is somewhat of a letdown spot off of your biggest game of the season to date, coming off that game versus the Warriors where they won it that one, blew them out by 31 points, had a few days off to get over that one. I like the Pelicans here on the road. Definitely the more motivated team catching the points here. I'm only official play today, Pelicans plus the 7, Sharp. Could you talk me on?
No, I don't think so. And I think that's a great quote from Jose Alvarado. Of course, the playoff motivation does stand tall here. And of course, we talked about this numerous times. Willie Green is the coach you want for a group that is coming in here to really hone in on that motivational environment. And you go back to last year, I think another point more so within the regular season, which is interesting here. The road team is 3-0 ATS last 3. The last time New Orleans played a regular season ball game at Phoenix, it was last year. Phoenix was laying 6.5 points, and they lost outright, 117-102. Phoenix has won the last 2 regular season games on shorter figures in New Orleans. But again, standing tall on this, you do get a double revenge game dating back to Tuesday and Thursday, April 26 and 28. The last 2 games of that first round series as Phoenix was going to the second round. Peak motivation. Willie Green will get them juiced up. I could not talk you off this one.
Yep, yeah, I'm on the Suns probably win their next 3 games by ease, my guys. But in all honesty, I think they dropped this one. If the Pelicans are a top tier team. I think they bring the defense here tonight. They match up really well as well. This team got better from last year. They got deeper. You got guys like Graham now actually got his head into the game. He wasn't into the game in the playoff series, and his team still came out there and kind of made the Suns feel uncomfortable. I think this is a lot bigger game to them. I think they play this shit like it's game 7 of that series, and I think they come out here for to win, very motivated, my guys. So in all honesty, I feel like if you like the Pelicans, if you would like to ride with me, you want to take the plus 7 now. I feel like when all the guys get ruled in, this may go down to 6, my guys, or maybe 5.5. Give me Pelicans plus the 7. I think the money line worth a little sprinkle as well. Last game up, Shark, going to the streets of Portland here. We got the Blazers laying 4 points versus the Houston Rockets with no Dame Lillard.
Yeah, this game is just going to be a tough environment. Of course, without Damian Lillard, you saw how this team played down the stretch against Miami. They were fairly useless, and I've mentioned this numerous times, but he's the only guy over 30 on the roster, and I think that stands for something. I think he's the leader. I think he's a bigger leader than people will give him credit for. I think he's potentially a player coach almost at this point. I think they're going to miss him a lot. The line is getting steamed down. This opened at Portland -5 last night. It's at 4 now. As you mentioned, Houston is not a bye team on the road, but I do think capping this game is just a complete unknown. Mild look ahead as well. Portland does get, excuse me, that is not Portland. That's my fault. But no, I just think this game is incredibly difficult to cap, really.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. The Portland Blazers have shown that they're trying to. They actually shown they're trying to bounce back from that dismal start last year, dismal year last year as well. I'd still lean the line has come down from 6 to 4. I think a lot of public gonna see Dame is out, are gonna hop on the Rockets. I'm not saying that the Rockets can't cover a game or win on the road. It looked like they closed at 8.5 that last game, so maybe at some spots the Rockets actually covered on the road there. But I see a total flip from this team on the road. They're not playing at home. They at least try to play a little bit defense. They get hyped up from their home crowd. I will not be betting the Rockets on the road all year. I actually think they're a bye team at the house, though, catching points. But on the road, short figure here, I think the Blazers still have the defense and have the guys, Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, Nurkic down low, and a few guys off the bench as well, like Sharp. I still think they can get this one done if they want to. So Blazers want to keep that upward movement going. You can do it at home versus the Rockets, my guys. They're a punching bag on the road. Now let's talk about some shirts here, my guys. Let's talk about some shirts. It's $10 off shirts. Use promo code WIN10 over at the site. You have until November 15th, my guys. Maybe not until the end. Shirts are starting to run out, man. Get it before your size runs out. jmoneyismoney.com. You can hit up myself you get on Twitter or on Instagram, or you can DM Shark, man. But jmoneyismoney.com is the easiest way to get them. Use promo code WIN10. Jay and Shark shirts are only $15. You can get Smack City, Us Against the Bookies, and Let's Get Some Cash shirts. Shark, what you liking on tonight's card?
Well, beautiful free Friday it is. Before noon on the East Coast, college football tonight, the Shark and the Gun. Tune in for that on Twitter. 3 top NBA plays, 9 words of lifestyle. Ride the way we get out of the water. Buy hat engaged, New York Knicks, plus 6.5, 5.5 now. Perfectly fine. Orlando Magic 0-5 on the campaign. Revenge game in the division. Tough travel point and sandwich spot for Charlotte. We're at +2.5 or 2. Both are fine there. They should get off the schneid and win this game tonight. And the Cleveland Cavaliers at Boston. Revenge game, short number. Boston off a 4-day break. And Cleveland showing gigantic upward movement point with Donovan Mitchell, which seems to be working better than people thought. 3 top plays, a beautiful free Friday. J Money, close them out and let's dominate.
Yeah, let's get to it, man. Y'all go check us out for those shirts, man. Yeah, for me, one play today, one top play. It's a lot to like on the card. One top play for me today. You guys that know me, if you listen to me, you know how I think. I'm going with the Pelicans here. It's not an auto, something we take every single time, play our revenge, but it definitely hits at a very high rate. You want to buy the Pelicans here. Well, I want to buy the Pelicans coming off a win where they lost, coming off a win where they didn't have 3 of their top players and still won the game in overtime. I think they bring that energy into this game as well, bring some of that momentum here with the players come back. Obviously, they won't have Ingram, so I'll let you know that. But Zion, Herb Jones, Alvarado, McCollum, they should be ruled in this game. And I do believe the line will go down once people see that they're basically full squad other than Ingram. Give me the Pelicans here, +7 to show their quality. Play this one like a game 7 versus the Phoenix Suns here. Willie Green obviously going up against his old coach as well. This team will bring the defense tonight. I believe they match up really well with the Suns. Maybe a bit of a Suns letdown game as well. But give me the Pelicans here, +7, my guys. That's the show. We appreciate doing this for you. We love doing this for you guys. We appreciate you guys watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, retweet on Twitter as well if you can. Share to Facebook, all that good stuff, man. We're out, my guys. It's Us Against the Bookies. Let's get this cash. We will win.